I want to dig into prospecting today. So prospecting is an incredibly important part of any salesperson's production. You know, it's the one thing that continues to feed the beast. It keeps you going. It keeps you running. It keeps opportunities in front of you. It keeps the paycheck coming, and it keeps your boss happy. So the challenge is like, who should prospect, right? Like, how do you figure out who should be even prospecting in the first place? In most cases, prospecting is thought to be something that is typically done for like a business-to-business salesperson, somebody who who their entire pipeline is built off of them making phone calls out to other businesses. There's multi-level marketing companies. You'd be prospecting to cold opportunities to join your team or your group or your company. Retail is an area I think where prospecting is probably the most underutilized, because so much traffic in a retail environment gets brought to you. And the truth is, you cannot control, if you work in retail right now, you cannot control the traffic that gets delivered to you. So whether you're selling phones or wireless plans for Sprint, you're selling furniture for Ashley, or you're selling motorcycles for Kawasaki, in most cases, you have zero control over the traffic that is being delivered to you. It's going to be the dealership, it's going to be the furniture store owner, maybe it's the manufacturer, maybe it's Sprint. So I think retail is probably the biggest opportunity for prospecting. And I think one of the things that people really struggle with when it comes to sales is getting into this idea of, I have to talk to people I don't know, which in most cases means prospecting. See, talking to somebody that comes in and shows up and is face-to-face with you and they've come to see you on their own accord is very different from you going out and trying to grow and expand your base. In the prospecting module on the left-hand side of the training center, that prospect is somebody who is what we would consider warm. Now, warm is a tricky term because warm doesn't always mean I'm waiting for your call, right? I would consider a warm lead somebody that submits a lead on your website. I would consider a hot lead somebody that calls in and says, hey, I'm interested in your product. Tell me about it, right? Prospecting to a warm network could be getting a referral. It could be warm market, somebody who knows you, right? Somebody who knows of you, somebody who you may have done business with in the past, maybe calling a customer from 2 years ago. That's a warm call. It's not a hot call, but I wouldn't consider it a cold call. When we start talking about mastering the cold call, we are talking 100% about cold traffic. And so the calls are a little different. And in each of those two sections, we go into some scripts and some ways to handle like that warm prospecting call, service calls, referral calls. And then when we go into the master the cold call, we really start talking about, hey, how do you have an opening that is bulletproof, being able to handle objections, sound confident, sound knowledgeable, get somebody to actually talk to you, and then hopefully secure an appointment or a presentation of your product. So in prospecting, the very first thing, the most important thing, regardless if it's warm traffic or cold traffic, is there's one key thing that you have to understand, that prospecting is not selling. It's one of the biggest mistakes people make with prospecting. They think that prospecting is the same thing as selling, and it's not. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in a second. But I just want to make sure that retail is probably the biggest opportunity for people to go out and prospect and see big results. But prospecting should be a daily activity for everybody. The importance of prospecting is paramount to everything that you do. Salespeople call up and they want to come work for us. And they're like, man, I'm the best closer. You put me in front of anybody, I'll shut the deal down. I'm like, dude, you got to have somebody to sell to first. Because we don't have people showing up here saying, hey, close me. I saw the ad on TV, close me. I heard the ad on the radio, close me. Hey, I'm interested, close me. We don't have that here. Most businesses don't, right? Sales can be a very predictable thing if you can create your own traffic. So you got to have somebody to sell to first. No matter how strong you are as a closer, if you can't prospect and get somebody to sell to, your closing skills will be worthless. So I'm telling you, as a sales leader, okay, as a VP of sales, sales manager, whatever you want to call it, a salesperson who can effectively prospect and set appointments and get presentations on the board is more important to me than a closer. Why? Dude, because I got an office full of people that can close deals. I need people that can get us to the plate. And so when you're trying to figure out, hey, how can I be more valuable to my company? Dude, get more opportunities in the door. If you're not a strong closer right now, it don't even matter. If you're not a strong closer, it doesn't matter, because if you're bringing opportunities, you're going to get in the ring enough times to actually have a shot at improving your persistence or your confidence or your strength in the close. But see, where most salespeople fail is they can't even put people into the funnel because they start butting up against all these things, which I was talking about before, which is the first thing that they misunderstand about prospecting, that prospecting is not selling. What do I mean by that? Dude, when I'm on a phone and I'm presenting something to somebody, I'm trying to sell them my product and get a yes today. That's my goal, right? When you're prospecting, the target is not necessarily to close a deal. Now, I know that may hit you a little like, like, hey, man, that doesn't even sound right. Obviously, the goal of everything that you do is to try to sell something. But when you put that prospecting hat on, I'm not talking about you're walking into a presentation, that demo hat where you're going into a presentation to close a deal. I'm talking about like, hey, my pipeline's empty. I don't have anybody to sell to. I got to get some stuff going. You need to make sure that you take off your selling hat and you put your prospecting hat on. Prospecting and selling are different because with sales, you are trying to sell something and get a decision. With prospecting, all you're simply trying to do is open a communication line, trying to get out of obscurity with somebody, trying to get in contact with somebody who doesn't know you before, right? So you're trying. Your goal is different, and I hope that makes sense. The challenge with prospecting, and the reason why a lot of people fail with prospecting, is because they assume that their results will be the same while they're prospecting as while they're selling. You know, if you're a good salesperson, you close 20% of your deals. That means that every 2 presentations you get, at 10 presentations you get, you're gonna get 2 deals, right? So, but what happens is you got to remember that you have to go through 100 phone calls to get 2 demos to show up. So your success rate is not 20%. You close 20% of your demos, not your opportunities. So where I see people start stumbling with prospecting, and the reason they start pulling back from it is because they think that on every phone call they're going to close a deal. And then they run into failure. The failure is compounded because their expectations are wrong. So the first thing you have to understand is prospecting and selling are very different things. And when you put your prospecting hat on, you have a different target. Somebody shows up, they're ready to buy, and somebody says, hey, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to buy, let's do this, do the deal. Okay, but you need to get it straight in your head that when you go and you put your prospecting hat on, that you understand you're trying to make contacts, right? Those contacts become contracts when you add the R. What's the R stand for? Relationships, man, relationships. So look, get your head right about prospecting. They're very different. So number one thing I want to make sure that you take away from today, prospecting is not selling. Make sure you have the right expectations because you won't be as let down. You won't feel the failure, and you'll know that even if somebody hangs up on you, you've made a contact and you've gotten out of obscurity with somebody. That's a good thing. So we want to try to make all of these contacts a win versus a win or a loss when you're actually selling something. Let's go to the phones real quick.
My question is, and it's a good one, man. What would you say to someone who's losing deals while they're prospecting by spending way too much time trying to develop rapport and giving too much information about the product? If they were spending too much time, during the prospecting process, as far as giving out too much information about the product, bringing up questions that don't need to be in their mind anyways, and not getting right down to the line.
Yeah, look, I mean, these should be relatively short calls. I mean, like a prospecting call, like you're trying to create interest to get somebody, like typically here's what I see. If you're really good, this changes, right? The math changes. Like for some of the guys that I have in our phone room, their math is a little bit different. You know, if you get on a phone call once with somebody, you can take them pretty far if you're good. For most people, here's what I see happening. They get on the phone, they have a conversation for 3 minutes. That 3-minute conversation determines if we connect for a more in-depth call to determine is this a fit, right? When we get to that next in-depth call, that's when we start digging in. So in those first 3 minutes, you got to have enough hooks and you got to leave them hanging enough so that you actually have an opportunity to ask some good questions. Because what a big mistake that you can do in prospecting is not learning enough about the problems of your prospect before you start talking about your product. Then what happens is you start telling them about what you do versus selling a problem that you know that they're having. So you really need to be concise in that first opening interaction, and you need to be able to get enough information out of them so that you can set some hooks based on the problems that they have, so that when you show up for another call, they actually take the call. Or better yet, if you sink that hook deep enough, they're like, hell, man, this sounds great, man. Yeah, I'll give you 10 minutes right now. I'll give you 15 minutes right now.
You know what? You're absolutely correct. I love that answer.
So you know, you can ramble on and on and on and on and on, but the truth is, words coming out of your mouth move you closer to a sale or further away from a sale. You're always going one or the other way, one way or the other. So you always want to make sure you're moving forward into the deal. And again, apply A cubed: attitude, approach, action. If you're making a lot of calls, you've got a great attitude, but you're not getting anywhere, your approach is off, and that's what you need to fix. So in the fact finding, you're going to find out valuable information. That information that you get, those answers that you get from asking good questions, okay, that will shape your presentation, because you want to present your product or your service in a way that solves their problem, because people will only buy for one reason. They need to solve a problem, right? So when you move into the presentation, after you've asked good questions and you have the good information so you know how to set up your presentation, the next thing is presenting the features, advantages, and benefits of your program in a way that's framed around the problem they're trying to solve. Now, if your question is, well, what are the features of my product, right? Then you need to start looking at like, hey, you know, why are these levels of coverage important? In this life insurance bundle, what are the different, the selling points? You have to look at a systematic way to take your product and bust it up into a few different things where you say, this is the feature, this is what it does, and your benefit, this is why it's important, right? And that typically is going to come back down to confidence, security, profit, income, money saving, something like that. Your benefit always needs to be, it'll increase your confidence. It's going to give you more of something good or less of something bad. Your feature should always tie to basically your feature. What is it? Advantage. How does it work, or how does it apply to my business or whatever? And then your benefit is, how does it make me money? How do I save money? What's that impact going to be? So you want to find those different points in your product and then bring those into your presentation. Your presentation should always be the same. Like the three main things that we are three main features of our product when we're selling to a company. Number one, it's content for managers to be more effective as a sales manager, both to train with and to train themselves. Number two is it provides testing, reporting, and accountability, so we can track, measure, and monitor the utilization of the program and ultimately tie that to the benefit. And then the third piece is individual salesperson engagement with material through curriculum, certifications, and then problem solving. So there's sort of three levels of our program. Now, if somebody says, I need to, my problem is I need my people to prospect more. When I go into my presentation, I'm going to hit those 3 points, start and stop at the same point, hit the same three things, but they're going to be framed around the problems. So when I talk about management content, I'm going to be talking about how our content will help your managers better understand how the prospecting cycle works, where to go to find prospects, how to create lists, scripts on what the calls sound like. And then when you run training sessions, we have our training sessions broke out so that your training on how to be more effective at prospecting is more of a system, and it's predictable and it's consistent. So I hit the management piece. The second thing that our content does is it provides full tracking, reporting, and accountability. So as your people are moving through the prospecting material, they're taking tests, they're passing and they're failing, I have a better idea what areas of prospecting they do and don't understand. And if I can do that, I can be more responsive. If I can be more responsive, they're going to be more effective. So you kind of move through your if you kind of saw that picture I painted, You move through your presentation hitting the same 3 points, but framed around the data that you uncover in the fact-finding stage. Back to prospecting. So the first thing we do is we have to make sure that prospecting and selling are viewed as two separate things, just like selling and closing. And closing and follow-up are different things. Prospecting and selling are different things. So you just have to have different expectations. Number 2, most important thing to understand about prospecting. In order for you to be successful with prospecting, you have to understand that activity is more important than being good. Right? Activity is more important than perfection. You got to make the call. Most people get so caught up in the analysis paralysis that what are they going to say? What if they say this? What if they say that? They actually, they back themselves into call reluctance. And then, dude, I remember when I first started selling over the phone, I remember like the phone, this was before I had a headset, picking up the phone off the cradle. It was like the phone weighed like 100 pounds, and it was... Then my hands got all heavy and I couldn't dial the buttons on the phone. And it was just because I waited so long. Speed is your friend when you're prospecting. It doesn't give you time to think with all the fears and insecurities. You have to move fast. You got to freaking be like, see how many calls we used to like race to see how many calls we could get done in 15 minutes. The target was always 30. Can I get 30 calls done in 15 minutes? Because if you can get 30 phone calls done in 15 minutes, and if you could do 60 calls an hour and you got 5 hours a day, that's 300 calls. Dude, very few salespeople have that type of volume. So, like, some of this stuff is going to be tough to swallow. And at some point, if you're not executing, you're going to have to look in the mirror and find out, dude, how important is that big, juicy target I'm going for? How important it is for me to make $1 million? How important is it for me to retire young? How important is it for me to have financial freedom? How important is it for me never to have to worry about where my kids go to school, where we go on vacation, yada, yada, yada? You're going to have to figure that out, because the stuff that we talk about here is how to freaking make bank. Like, that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in crushing it. I mean, dude, I want to have enough money in 7 years. I'm 33 years old right now. 40 years old. I want to have enough money to just be like, I'm on my own time. I'm on my own schedule. Will I do that? Probably not. I'd like to have the option to, I'd like to have the option to eat pizza every day. I don't do that. I could, but I don't. You get all fat and nasty, just it's not my thing, not my thing. So activity is more important than perfection. Activity is more important than being good. Make the call. Dude, make failing a game. Make it hilarious. Dude, I used to laugh when I'd get crushed on phone calls. Once I really understood the prospecting thing, I was like, dude, I want to see how bad I can fail on some of these calls, because it changes the game. It becomes a game. It becomes fun. Dude, we do hang up high fives in the office. You get hung up on, we giving you high fives, man. You get ran over, dude. Let's high five, man, dude. I'm still missing some teeth from yesterday. I got my face kicked in so hard. It's part of the game. Enjoy it, embrace it, and remember that activity is more important than being good in the beginning, right? Until you really start cranking. Then you get on the field, then it's like nothing. Like Mike Bonnet, dude, he'll cold call anybody. He cold calls the CEO of Nike. I'm like, Mike, what are you going to sell them? How's it going to work? I don't know, man. I'm just going to call him and try to give him a demo. And he picks up the phone and calls him. He's a madman. It's a game for him, though. He got it. So if you can get to the point where prospecting is a game for you, where you just like, you're all in the activity piece, dude, you will unlock so many doors. Raising money for a startup, got to prospect. Going out into the world and trying to find a husband or wife, you got to prospect a lot to find a good one. Fortunately, I did, right? Dude, if you can go out into the public, into life, and go out and make connections with people, that is the most valuable thing that you can do, more than anything. And you don't have to be an extrovert to do it. You just have to work through that process, being able to walk up to somebody and go, hey, yo, what's up? My name's JG. I work for Grant Cardone. This is what we do. Any chance you might be able to you might be in the market for something like that? Or better yet, if you're not, do you know somebody else who is? Whatever. Just do something. Say something. Instead of just sitting back and being a victim and waiting for somebody else to provide you with traffic or a lead or a way to feed yourself. Dude, when you can get to the point where you can prospect effectively, when you can get to the point where you have full control over that, I promise you, dude, it's like, dude, like it's like you got a superpower and you could fly. Can you imagine if you got a superpower and you could fly? Dude, the first day you'd be so jacked up, you'd be like, dude, I'm flying, man. This is crazy. And the day you figure prospecting out, I promise you it'll feel like that. Because you'll feel like the confidence is just in the excitement because you've conquered this thing. But it has to come through training. And the third thing, do the math. You got to do math. You got to do the math. You got to figure out how many calls it takes for you to win.
Do the math.
It gives you predictability and it gives you certainty. You know, if you were going into a contest, right, and you knew it's a tree chopping contest, and there's 5 competitors, and you were the only person that knew how many swings it was going to take to knock down that tree, would you have some confidence? Right? Dude, three trees down from you might stop at 762, and you knew that 763 was when the thing fell over. It gives you so much predictability. So you have to figure out how many calls to get how many appointments, to get how many demos, to get how many demos that show up, to get how many contracts that go out, to get how many deals. You've got to do the math all the way through. Because then what you can do, you have unlocked the key to making prospecting, cold calling a game. If you can do the math and you can break it all the way down, every single call is a win. Every single call is an investment. Every single call has a dollar value attached to it. If you can get down to the point where every phone call you make is worth $2 or $3 or $4 or $5, dude, your game changes big time. You make 300 phone calls, you don't talk to anybody, you're like, damn, dude, I made $1,500 today. How do you figure, man? You didn't sell nothing. Dude, I made 300 calls. I'm working the math. I know my math. And the math gets better as you get better. The math gets juicier when you get better. Does that make sense? Like the better you get, the better the math starts looking. The higher per call dollar value you have. But you got to do the math. If you're walking blindfolded into a freaking battlefield if you don't know the math. Number 1, prospecting is different from selling. You got to know that. You got to know the difference. Number 2, activity is senior to perfection. Activity is senior to being good. And number 3, you got to know your math. That way every call is an investment. Every call is a win. So you're not losing all the time, man. Nobody likes losing. You lose too many times. You don't know how to deal with it. You fail. You quit. You pull back. You retreat. Next thing you know, you're 65 years old and you're wondering, like, God, just full of regrets. Full of regrets. That's real, man. I'm saying that like a joke, but that's real. Dude, there are people that I know 50 years old, 55 years old that are looking back now going, man, I messed up. I will not be in that group, I promise you. I see those people and I use them as motivation. I will never be like that. I will never be in a position where I'm not in control. I will never be in a position where I have no confidence, no certainty, no financial security at all. No, I would never do that. And I use that as motivation to continue to push myself. And that's why we train every day. That's why we do these streams. That's why we try to help, because I know that the confidence that I have in my future is because of the program that you have in front of you right now. And I know that your confidence will go through the roof if you can master using this program. Let's go to Leo from California.
Okay, so it's about prospecting. I've been listening, and here's the thing I struggle the most. When it comes to prospecting, and I talk to them, and afterwards I ask for a reference, and they just, let's just say they just hit a blank. They tell me something along the lines of like, oh, yeah, I might have someone, but somewhere like, they'll tell me like something along the lines of like, I may have someone, but like later on in the future, like, you know, like a month from now, I may have someone for you.
Yeah, so that's just a stall, man. That's just a stall. You got to make sure you're asking the right way. If you ask, you know, do you know anyone who could benefit from what the service or the product that I was involved with you with? If you ask like that, they're going to say no. So you need to make sure that you're directing them towards an answer that gives you what you want. This is an important thing with questioning that a lot of people don't understand. Your line of questioning should take people down a path towards you to get them to respond the way that you want them to respond throughout the entire sales process. You know, it's this dance, and you can watch people that are masterful in, you know, amateur people asking questions have like zero strategy. They just ask questions that don't even mean nothing. When you start improving a little bit, then you start asking questions that are quite obviously directing towards an answer that you're trying to get out of somebody. But when you become a pro, like I've seen this happen before. Like Grant, I see him. He'll go 3 questions deep to get what he wants. So he'll ask the first question, and then the follow-up question's like, "Ooh, man, that's a good one. Yeah." And then when he drops that third question, sign the contract. Just spray the ink on the deal. Because he's so masterful with how he does that. So what my point is, what I'm saying is, you have to make sure that you're setting the question up, or that you're setting the line of questioning up, that it's going to get you what you want. Hey, did you guys have a great experience today? Oh yeah, awesome. I mean, do you have friends and family that you know, that would love to have an experience like this buying anything? Yeah, give me the name of 3 people. Give me the names of 3 people you know who I can contact and just share with them what I did with you. Give me the names of 3 people. Who are the first 3 people that came to mind? Who's the first person? Give me one person. Who's the first person that came to mind when I said that? One person right now. Come on, you know. Hey, you got to push a little bit.
Okay.
But the value, but listen. Here's something important for you to understand when you're asking for referrals from somebody who's purchased from you. Okay, you have 2 ways to get a contact or a lead. You can try to go talk to somebody new who you don't know, who doesn't know you, right? Or you can talk to somebody who you just spent 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe 3 months with, building a relationship with. You can spend a couple extra minutes with them, apply a little bit of a pressure to get what you need. So you can talk to somebody who you've already know, trust, and do business, who already knows you, trusts you, has done business with you, or you can talk to somebody who you don't even know. Who would you rather pick?
I'd rather definitely talk to someone I know and just apply that under the pressure.
Totally. So now the key is. You know, you got to understand, like, they're going through all their things right now of like, man, I don't want this sales guy calling them and this and that. But they got all these considerations right now, so that you need to jump out in front of that. Hey, look, I know what you're thinking right now. Oh my gosh, the last thing I want to do is give away Natalie's phone number to this crazy salesperson who's going to call them every single day and never let them off the hook. And then I'm going to lose Natalie as a friend. And then I'm not going to have any friends left. Dude, they're going through all of that in their head right now. So you need to bring that up. Bring it up and satisfy the concern. Look, I know right now what you're probably thinking, but look, the truth is you had a great experience. Natalie is probably in the market for what kind of product do you sell?
I'm a personal trainer. So I'm a fitness coach that helps people burn fat.
Yeah.
With proper nutrition and gain muscle. Thank you.
Yeah, look, you care about your friend. You care about your friends, right, Leo?
Of course I do.
Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't, right? Dude, how good do you feel when you leave the gym every day?
I feel great.
Dude, I feel great too. You know what I love? I love when my friends feel great. Don't you?
Absolutely.
Dude, hey, I got a great idea, Leo. Since you love what happens here, you love the way you feel, you love your friends, and you love to see them win, give me the name of 3 people that you know right now, your best friends, who if I called them and said, Leo told me to call you, they'd pick up the phone and they'd give me 30 seconds of their time. Who are the first 3 people that come to your mind?
All right, I'll give you 3 names right now. So.
How was that?
That was actually fairly easy. It didn't seem like I actually had to, pressure them into giving me the name.
Yeah, so look, like the questions that you ask getting there are important because it helps them build agreements along the way. But, dude, once you get to the question, you got to know that there could be a no behind it, or 2 or 3. Oh, man, Jared, I don't know anybody. Come on, man. Who's the first person that came to your mind when I told you that? When I said you want to see your friends do good, you want them feeling good, you want them looking good, who's the first person that came to your mind? Oh, John, man. John's the first thing that came to my mind. John's the first one that came to my mind. Good. What's the best way for me to get in contact with John? Oh, man, I don't want to give you his number, man. I don't want to give you his number. Hey, look. Look, Leo, I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking that, you're going to give me John's information, and then I'm going to call John, and it's going to be this awkward thing. Look, the truth is, if you love the way that you feel and you truly care about John, you would want him to experience the same thing that you're having. Look, if he don't buy, that's my fault, not yours. And I give you my word, I'm going to make you look great. I'm going to make you look like a star. Or hell, I won't even mention your name, however you want. But I know it's important for you to see your friends do well. What's the best way for me to get in contact with John?
Okay, let's do it. Let me see his number.
Get the recorder going, man. Come on. Spitting game. All right, dude, I hope that
was really good.
I hope that helped, man. You should have so many deals that you're following. See, like, if follow-up is creative enough, if it's persistent enough, it will get a response. If you're not getting a response, you need to increase the activity until you get a response. Dude, I remember I'd call people twice a day, email them twice a day. I'd crawl all up in every area that I could to get around them until they were like, dude, I'm not interested. Because at least I'm communicating with them. Now they respond. Now I get an opportunity to have one last shot. But I've got their attention now. So you got to look at everything in that plan. Phone calls, videos, text messages, show up, mailing gifts, shock and awe packages. I mean, you got to do it all. At any given point in time, the sales guys are probably working 300 to 400 different opportunities, and they'll close like 6 deals a month, 7 deals a month maybe.
So then it rolls back to what you're saying, do the math and pick up the phone.
Well, because what happens is now you've got people, certainly I think at a certain point, your frequency changes, but you can't ever go away because now you're on their radar. So like I used to cycle through my follow-up. I'd go really, really heavy, like every single day, multiple times per day for the first 2 weeks. That's like kind of the interest window. And then after that, I would kind of start scaling back. So it's an iteration of the follow-up tool that you see and use. But then I would start kind of pulling back a little bit, try to automate it so it was just an email that was going out, so I was staying on their radar. But then I'd come back and I'd lean back into it again. And so I'd surge back into it, and then I'd kind of pull back, and then I'd come back at it hard. But the idea is that you're building a pipeline, right? And yeah. Maybe they're not in the market for your product, and maybe you take the opportunity to ask for a referral. Maybe they're not taking your call because you hadn't done a good enough job communicating on a video or an email or a text message the value prop. Maybe you didn't spend enough time researching the market to learn about what their problem is, or their needs and wants are. There could be a lot of different reasons, but at the end of the day, activity will fill your pipeline up, and when you have a full pipeline, deals start falling out. Like they just I used to work on legal pads, and I'd write my hot leads out on legal pads, and I'd go through one page all the way down every line, 2 pages all the way down every line, and when I turned that page a third time and I started putting people on that third page that were in the pipeline that I was working, deals started raining on me. And then I'd get freaking dumped on, and my pipeline would clear out. And all the deals that were real that were on those 3 pages, they'd all flush out, and I'd have a massive month, and then I'd have to go rebuild again. But then those same people that I was working, dude, they'd end up coming due a year and a half later. So that's why you see salespeople. If you don't see salespeople increasing their income incrementally throughout their career, they're missing something in the pipeline game or the follow-up game. Because if you're selling to more customers, your sales should always increase. If you're continually selling with customers, you're continually adding new people into your pipeline, you're prospecting your existing clients for referrals, right? You're getting repeat business. your sales should incrementally grow every year. If you start leveling off or you start going down, it's like you're done. Because it's shifted. You're losing more out of the bottom than you're putting in at the top. So while it seems kind of maddening, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to bug people. Oh my gosh, am I following up too much? Oh my gosh, are they not interested? Every single other one of your competitors has thought that exact same thing, and they quit. If you quit, you're just going to fall into the same group that they did. Serious though, you are stalking somebody. I'm stalking you, I'm hunting you, I'm an assassin, and I'm coming to get you. Because I know you can benefit from my product, and I know I have the best one out there, and I know I can support it better than anybody else, and it would be unethical for me to not crawl up and get in your face and bug the hell out of you until you take my call, tell me to jump off a bridge, or you buy my product. And the truth is that getting in the gym every day makes me feel more healthy. Even if my results aren't great or my workout isn't great, I feel more healthy. I feel like I did the right thing. I'm in the right mindset, right? It's the same thing with the training. Like, you may not learn something every day you log in, but you got to be consistent with it. You may disagree with something that Grant says, but it causes you to think about what you can agree with. So it's always a win, but you have to get so you're literally you're brainwashing yourself. And so look, guys, prospecting, got to keep putting people in the top if you want to keep getting deals out the bottom. That's how it works. So number one, understand that prospecting is different from selling. Number two, make sure you are crystal clear that activity is more important than perfection. And then number three, do the math.